I'm very curious to, and our viewers as well, to find out what was your interest to start with the theater business, the acting thing? How did you got involved into this field?
Well, you know, Josie, I think it was really in my blood. Both of my parents, my dad, when he was a young man, he didn't want to go into his father's business, and he ran to Hollywood with his best friend, and he never made it big, but he worked in films and worked as an extra and got little bit parts. But then he came to his senses and ended up going back and going home. And they both performed in our church. They did all the church shows and all of that. And of course, when I was in school and high school, I was in the senior class play, and I did a lot of stuff like that. And I was always fascinated by it.
That was fun, though. That was great fun.
It was great
Sure.
fun. And then I went to a school which was just perfect, which was Boston University, because my parents were dead set on my not majoring in theater, so I took a business. I was able to integrate a business and theater and communication arts at the same time. So I did that, and I was very active with a lot of the things at school at Boston University as well, because we had our own closed circuit television station.
Oh,
Wow. It was really wonderful. But by the time I was 18, I guess it was, I mentioned this earlier, I came to New York and I did my first television commercials, and I was in the unions right away. And even though I was modeling and doing that kind of stuff, I was always working in off-Broadway stuff and off-Broadway stuff, and I studied with really good people. I worked with Lee Strasberg and his classes, and I went to Bill Hickey, was really a mentor of
big
mine.
ones.
Yes,
Yeah.
I was in Bill Hickey's class also.
Bill
Yeah,
was-
but Bill always talked about his mother and his dog.
That's right.
Always.
That's right.
Yeah, and wasn't Bill a chronic smoker? He was a
He
smoker?
was.
Yeah,
Bill
he
was
used
a
to
bad
smoke all the
boy.
time? Yeah.
He smoked a lot, but
Yeah.
Bill took me under his wing, and he was just terrific. He loved actors. He loved the process of acting, as you know, Danny.
Oh, yeah.
And his class, there was a stream of consciousness in his class. Bill had a quiet, strong way about him, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
He had that wonderful quality.
Yeah,
And
and then also, excuse me, Paul,
Go ahead.
at the end, before he died, he became a motion picture star.
I know.
Yeah.
He was nominated for an Academy Award for Princey's Honor. Was it Princey's Honor?
I don't remember. I
think
can't
it was
remember.
Princey's Honor. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because we maintained a friendship all through those years. Even
Yeah.
after and I was with Bill at the end. Actually, I
Yeah.
spent time with him, and we were great friends. In fact, I have a wonderful photograph of Bill in my house, and he actually, when he passed, he left me a lot of his scripts and memorabilia.
Oh, how
and things.
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, and it was interesting. They had a wonderful tribute to him. They did it in a theater, in a Broadway theater. And Bill was so special.
Yeah.
He was special because he just loved the process of acting. He loved directing. He was a marvelous director,
Yeah.
a wonderful director.
Yeah.
And I also worked, fortunately, with Charles Nelson Riley. He was also
wonderful.
terrific.
Yeah.
Lee Strasberg. I
Yeah.
was in his private classes for a while. And,
All the big ones.
but I worked with, I really got to work with good people, and
That's what
I
counts.
always, my passion was always theater, but as you know, it's very hard to make a living
Oh,
in the
yes.
theater.
Oh, sure.
And I was fortunate because I was able to model and do commercials and all of that, so that gave me a nice lifestyle.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah,
Which
it was a
Yeah.
lot of fun.
Acting
It was
is
a lot.
very
A lot of fun.
And in those years, it was really possible to be a kind of a working actor.
Yeah.
Because, as you know, there weren't as many people in the field in those years. It
Yeah.
wasn't as crowded as it is now.
Yeah.
Even though there are
Too much
many more
competition.
opportunities now, but
Yeah.
there's also many, many more people. And I had a woman that I worked with. She was also terrific. She had her own studio, and I worked with her privately for a while, and she had a wonderful expression. She said, in this business, but I think it applies to life as well, she said, in the business, referring to show business, you have to be chosen.
Yes.
And I thought that was a very
Wow.
interesting
Yeah,
way of...
she was so right. And not only had to be chosen, but you always had to have a job.
Yes.
Always had to have something to back you up, where when you're doing the thing that you love, You have to pay your bills, you got to pay your rent, you got to pay
Absolutely.
everything, and you always have to have another career or another job to keep you going, you know, and to keep you working in the thing that you love the most.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's very
and
true.
it gives you a sense of dignity, too, if you
Yeah.
have that.
Yeah,
You know, it's very
yeah.
important. I've been fortunate. I've also mentor a lot of young people, and I love doing it because one of the things I say to them is, you know, I'm glad you have this passion, but develop a passion or have a passion for something else that you can put bread on the table.
Yeah,
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 of course.
that's right. And
Yeah.
don't
That's
go
important.
freaking out and saying, gee, I'm going to be a big star, I'm going to do this. This is a job.
Exactly.
And you go from one job to the next job to the next job. You enjoy yourself. And the day that you're working, they treat you like a king. They brush your hair, they put makeup on you, they put your clothes on.
Exactly.
They do this, they pamper you, they kiss you, they love you, they do everything. And they make you feel like you're a big star. But then after that job is over, you got to face reality and you got to go back, you know, and say, well, I hope I get my next job soon because it's just a job.
That's right.
And if
Yeah.
you don't think of it like that, you're going to go stir crazy. And a lot of people do.
Yeah, I think the balance is the key, I think. And also, it allows you to live a good life. You
That's
know?
right.
In order to be, I think in order
It's
to
a
be...
fictitious life, right? In a way.
Pardon me?
It's a fictitious life. If you're not down to earth,
Yeah.
it's easy. It's so, like he said, it's so easy to get, you know.
You get swept away, and then you
Yeah.
go on drugs, you go on whiskey, you go on
Right.
all kinds of
Yeah,
drinks and
out of
everything, and
control.
people go nuts. And they just have to realize that you go from one day to the next day, and it's just a job, just working, and that's all it is. And it's the greatest job in the world. It's fabulous when you have it,
Right.
but when you don't have it,
Yeah.
you've got to face reality, and you've got to
Yeah.
say, well, now let me go back to what I'm doing to make a living, so I can keep whatever I really love to do going.
Exactly. But,
Yeah.
you know, along with that, Danny, I think it's interesting if you can, you know, you can open your vision, and it allows you to, if you can do other things, it just broadens you so that as a performer or behind the scenes, which I like as well, I've also worked as a stage manager. I've done
Oh, that's
I've done a lot.
wonderful.
I've done a
Oh,
lot
that's
of I've done a
wonderful.
lot of the behind the scenes stuff
Yeah.
as well. And in fact, my partner and I, we produced a show for the Fringe Festival 2 summers ago.
Yeah.
It was a musical. It was called Misspelled, and it was wonderful music. And we got to perform at the Cherry Lane Theater, which is a top, wonderful
Yeah.
theater in New York.
Yeah.
And I love being a part of it, but this was a challenge because I was also in it with a major part and also producing at the same time. So
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
wearing 2 hats.
Yeah,
you know.
which is really great, and
Yeah.
you know, and that also gives you, you know, the feeling that you know that when you're in front of the camera, you could actually see yourself. And see yourself performing, and see yourself doing it from the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. I mean, it'd be wonderful for everybody, not only as an actor, as a singer, as an entertainer, but also as a producer and as a director, and they can actually see themselves, you know, from the outside in, doing everything that they should be doing, which is fabulous. But you've got to get to all those steps, and you have to really, you know, focus yourself and mold yourself. And if you can do that, I think it's wonderful.
But don't you think also, Danny, that a lot of it is awareness, to be present, to really be present?
Yes.
Sure.
Because you learn an awful lot when you're really present, and that's what the process of acting is
Yeah.
all about
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
you have to really be in the moment. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're not in the moment.
That's the reason why some actors and actresses, they have a tough time to come back to, because they have to integrate themselves so much to their role, that to play the part, that whatever it is,
Well-
that they become the person afterwards, and they have to separate themselves from that,
Yeah,
which
well-
is tough.
Well, I think
Because
that's
they-
why the key is to hopefully have a balanced life, you know,
Yes.
where you have
Yeah.
a personal life that's hopefully fulfilling, and you
Yeah.
know, all of that. I mean, all of that plays into it.
Yeah, you have to draw from your experiences and everything else. And when I used to get a job, which is not too often anymore at my age, but when I used to get a job, and they used to give me a character, I used to have to sit down, and I used to have to write a story, a whole new story about my life of that character, and then believe everything I wrote. That's me, and that's my character, and I have to live through all those words and everything to create that character on screen. and that's what you really that's how you do it, Paul.
We had similar training, Dan.
Yeah, I know you did.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom
and
line.
if you build the structure that way, actually, you know, it's not such a big deal to go back to your own life,
Yeah.
because what you're using is, you know, you're using a technique. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
you know, a carpenter has a technique.
That's right.
I mean, an electrician has a technique.
That's right.
You
Yeah.
have to have the tools of
That's right.
technique in order to be able
Yeah.
to do the work.
But the more experiences that you have in your lifetime, you draw from all that.
Absolutely.
And that rounds out your whole character, and you can put that in any character that you play in film, on stage, or anything like that, and it makes you whole.
Yes.
It's, you know,
No, it's.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the thing that I try the most when I work with young people, is to try to get that message across, because
Yeah.
it's difficult. You know, when you. It's so funny. I'll never forget this. I'll tell you one quick story about Lee Strasberg.
no, tell me a slow story.
I was doing a scene in his class with Lucy Saroyan, who was William Saroyan's daughter.
Yeah.
And this was many years ago, and we were doing a scene from Diary of Anne Frank.
Yeah.
And of course, all the heavy hitters were sitting out in the audience.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget this. When we finished it, it was a silence, and Lee sat there, and he didn't turn to us. He turned to the people that were sitting there,
That's
and
right.
he said, "You see, here are two young people that are just starting out, and the curtain is only opening as far as it's supposed to for them." I mean, I thought that was such an interesting image.
Yeah.
In other words, life opens up, and for very often young people, they don't have that vision. You know, we
Yeah.
didn't have that vision.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I thought it was an interesting, I've always remembered that, because I thought it was a
Yeah.
very interesting way,
It's profound, yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
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 Sure.